Welcome back to Momentous Struggle, a Star Wars Shatterpoint podcast. On today's episode, Aubrey and I are going to talk about our first Premier Showdown event and probably talk about some of our other games we've been playing since we had a little bit of a hiatus there. So over the last week, this is us back after 2 weeks, but we'll go ahead and kind of recap some of the stuff that we've been doing over the last 2 weeks. So let's go ahead and jump into it. As always, I got Aubrey here with me. How we doing today, Aubrey?
Well, it's Sunday. There's a ton of family in my house, and life's happening. Life's happening in real time out there.
It does.
We were sent to go pick up a car, and then it turned out the people had already picked up their own car and left before we ever got there. This is just one of the many things happening this morning. It's fine.
Sounds like a very, very busy day and interesting day. So yeah, no, I mean, I'm excited to kind of jump into it. One topic I kind of wanted to talk about really quick, and I know I didn't even go over this with you, is like I was listening to the Zion's Finest podcast, and at the end of their podcast, they spent like the last 10 minutes or so talking about being kind in the community, and it struck home with me. It was like something that I really needed to hear, I think, right at that point in time, because I had a very bad experience, not in the Shatterpoint community, but in another game that I was playing that really put me in a sour mood. And like it was the week right before we played in our premiere event, and like put me in a really bad mental state for the rest of the game, just because of like that interaction that I had. And I think sometimes we forget how we interact with other people, and we forget like some of the things that we do that make and how that impacts the other players that we're playing with, and like how we need to sit there and make a better effort to sit there and be welcoming and supportive of the other people within the community that we're playing with, especially when we're trying to build a community of whatever game you're playing, a system you're playing in.
Yeah, and I mean, some of this is the traditional stereotypes of nerds are antisocial, nerds don't understand the uh, emotional intelligence needed to interact with one another. That's always going to be some of it in the hobby space, but also, do you know how to interact with others in public?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Uh, I I deal with this a lot. People get surprised when I tell them that I work in a library. I'm a librarian, right? And a lot of it is like a retail job. Not as bad as a retail job, because when there's actually money involved, I'm sure people are insane. But there's some of that overlap. The joke I like to make is that some days the free stuff isn't free enough.
Yeah.
People will act entitled when they're already getting free things from me. Even when it's extra stuff, like we do a summer reading program every year, and we give out prizes for reading. Like it's all free, it's all no cost. But then people will try to like get more stuff from you, and I'm like, I'm already giving you free stuff. So the reason I bring that up is because a lot of times I think we get stuck inside our own world, right?
Mm.
Like this is a competitive game. You want to win. You want to be focused on that. There's also a lot of rules interactions. Like I was talking with one of the other players we meet up with regularly about this, and uh, the rules were very much written like almost like a computer, like input output. And I think people kind of get stuck in that mindset of, well, this is the input I get in, this is the output I'm going to receive, not recognizing that there's a very human element
Yeah.
involved here.
Yeah, that kind of goes to like the one we were like when I was playing in one of our games, and it was that the struggle tracker not moving, but it stayed on zero. It started on zero, stayed on zero. So, but it didn't move. And the way that the rule was written is like it doesn't move. So do we still gain momentum? And it's like the way the rule was written versus what you knew the intent of the rule was. So the intent of the rule is if it's on zero at the end, you both get momentum, but it doesn't exactly read that way. And I think that's kind of like very much to your point of let's look at the intent of it, not necessarily just what the input output is.
Right, right. At the end of the day, this is what I tell people at our work. At my job, if I make a mistake, maybe somebody doesn't get their free book as quickly. But I didn't chop off it. But I didn't chop off anybody's leg. I didn't amputate the wrong arm.
Right, exactly.
Like it shouldn't be stressful. And again, this is our hobby, and I get it. We're passionate. There's a reason we're sitting here talking to each other about it.
Yep.
But it is a game. At the end of the day, win or lose, you should be happy you played a game. Nothing bad happened to you. Not really. Like, remember that, people. Like, come on.
Exactly.
Remember that this is supposed to be fun at the end of the day.
Exactly. And I think I just wanted to get that off my chest, I think, more than anything, because it's like I know, like I said, in that tournament that we played in, I was just not in a mental state to sit there and play, but it's like I had to get out of the house, had to sit there and just shake it off and start doing something different. But it's like I was not focused on playing at all. But it was, but it was good to get out and interact with other people and have like a good, positive gaming experience. And I think that's the biggest thing that as players we should be trying to take away is having that good positive play experience with people that we want to enjoy being around and having fun with them. And I think that's within our general community, that especially Shatterpoint wise, that I think that is a overwhelming success of what we do.
Yeah, I think we've been doing a good job, and I think maybe to go back to that just that idea of entitlement. Another thing I think of is because I had a situation in one of my league games where I got a very early lead in the game, and so when you're pulling ahead like that, and I'm prey to this too. You can get in the mindset of, well, I'm winning, so I should win.
Mm-hmm.
Well, spoilers, everybody. I lost that game after winning Struggle 1, which
Yeah.
we've talked about. That's not likely to happen. And here I was. I lost Struggles 2 and 3 back to back. And I could feel like, hey, I should have won. I won the first struggle. All I had to do was win one more.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't win. So I could stomp my feet and be angry and upset or take it out on my opponent, but is that benefiting anyone?
No.
No.
Yeah, you got to sit there and play a fun game for a couple hours, and that's the biggest thing you should be taking away from it. So yeah, no, I mean, like I said, just
Yeah.
something I kind of like. I wanted to reiterate a conversation that they were already having on Zion's Finest, which, like I said, really struck home with me in regards to just gaming in general. I mean, this is supposed to be a fun game. That's the AMG does not have a set competitive scene simply because they want to be this like, a game for everyone. So that's a big part of what I think we like needs to make sure that sometimes we need to recalibrate ourselves to that mindset of we're here to have fun, we're here to play a game and help people grow in the hobby or the game, however, whatever we're doing with that.
Yeah, right. It was like one of the early, and I think we could shout him out of the podcast here. One of our early trolls on the YouTube channel was talking about, oh, well, I thought this was going to be a competitive mindset, not a casual mindset. And I'm like, it's like month one of a brand new game. Like
Yeah.
some of us haven't even finished building our models.
Right, right.
like,
And and yeah,
but sure, it needs to be competitive immediately.
right. I mean, and we're not too competitive people. I mean, like, and to be fair, like, if you're someone is really looking for that competitive commentary and everything like that, I will shout out right now. Hello there, an amazing podcast. Both of the players just played in the MCP World Team Championship, so they are. When it comes to competitive, those guys are tops. That is if you're looking for competitive, they are a very well done podcast, as well as the boys over at Rogue Support. I mean, Omnis is an amazing player on both this and MCP, as well as Dizzard. They're both very good, very competitive players. If you need to have that competitive fix, by all, like they're really definitely the way to go. We're a couple of casuals that just enjoy playing the game, and we like to talk about it and have fun talking about it. So it's like I said, we're going to touch on that a little bit, but we are not at the level that those guys are. I mean, like I said, Omnis also played in the World Team Championships, so it's like those guys are definitely that top tier echelon player that I don't think I'll ever be there. And I mean, I'm not really trying to be at that level. I like to play and have a good time and that, but it's so if someone's looking for that, by all means, listen to them because they have great content as well. I mean, and even Zion's Finest gets a lot of great stuff out there too. So, I mean, definitely, there are like a lot of good content creators out there that are going to give you a giant range of everything. And we're going going on the fun side of things a little bit more, I guess, than than the competitive side.
Hey, come on now. I'm a little competitive. I'm a little competitive. I like winning as much as the next
Yeah,
person. The thing is this is my first game, my first tabletop game. Like I'm competitive, but like if we were doing a Magic podcast, I mean, I got a decade of experience
exactly.
in competitive levels over there. But so we'll get there. It'll be a mix. It'll be
Yeah,
a mix.
it is. I mean, like I said,
My point was is just come on, it's a brand new game. We
exactly.
got plenty of time to dive into the
Yeah.
competitive side.
Yeah, and we're not even a year in yet. I mean, so there's like we haven't the biggest event that's probably going to be coming up is of the year is usually LVO, and that's not even a normal event. That's just an after hours event. So,
Yeah.
we'll get there.
And yeah, next year I fully expect that there'll probably be something at LVO would be my
Oh
guess.
yeah,
Like that will have been enough time for enough people to come together, figure this game out. I mean, we're playing with people in our league right now that they haven't even built all of their boxes. Like
right.
they still have stuff that they're building and I would say they're, competitive players or competitive adjacent, whatever
Yep.
you want to say, and they still haven't even built their stuff. Like
Exactly, exactly. No, I think it's and to go to the league thing. So because I know again going to Zion's Finest, they were like, I think they have a league or something that they're playing in, and I know that we haven't probably been very clear on that. So our local LGS is Imperial Outpost, and we have a league that we've been playing, and it was basically just 8 players that signed up for it, but we're playing 6 rounds, and you can just schedule your own and time to play against each person. So basically, you're playing everybody except for one person in the league, and then at the end of the league, we're going to have a tournament. And even players that weren't in the league are allowed to play in that end of the year tournament. So hopefully, we'll get a nice little end of the year push to have even more people play and like do like another, maybe another 16-person tournament would be amazing. So yeah, I mean, it's just that's all it is just our first growth league, and it was super casual. Like the guy I was playing against, he was only playing his core box stuff because he's not allowing himself to buy anything else until he paints his core box stuff, and he still didn't have his core box stuff painted. So that's why the only reason why he was playing an Oops All Mandos team, which actually kicked my hind end. And it was great though. It was a I mean, so that's where we are though. I mean, it's just we're still learning, we're still growing, we're still having fun with it.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So remember everybody, hey, be nice. Be
Exactly.
nice. Go back to kindergarten. That if you didn't learn those lessons in kindergarten, ask someone.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, let's go ahead and jump into the main topic, and that was we did our first Premier Showdown event, which was a very fun event. I was really excited about this event. I mean, and it was something different that we got to do. Overall, it was over at a different store. It's Gamers Guild of Arizona, which is a very nice store. They have a very big, expansive play area, which is really nice. So we got to go and play over at that store. Had a good time playing in that. It was just a 3-round event, and I'll let you just go ahead and start because you and I played in the first round and it didn't go too well for me. So I'll let you go ahead and lead off with what happened for your rounds.
Well, I'll start. I'll talk about what I was playing. So, I unfortunately the Grand Army of the Republic has not been the play style that I'm able to work with. So, like I've been talking about, I've switched over to the dark side. The Night Sisters and their clarion call of dark magic. But I was having a little bit of trouble with my squad. So I knew I wanted to play Mother Maul, and that Mother was probably going to be my main group if I could. But the more I looked at and messed around with numbers, uh, there just wasn't enough to like keep the Dathomirian synergies. Like even if I ran like all bounty hunters and I wasn't really familiar with, like I hadn't played with CAD yet. Like I've played with the actual bounty hunters, trying out different supporting units with the Dathomirians, but I didn't want to do that. So then I was like, well, what do I have the most experience with that isn't Republic? Because I didn't want to bring Republic. Sorry, light side. So I ended up on Mandos as my other two squads. I just ran all the Mandos with Asajj and Ahsoka. Now, the theme of this event was Ghosts of Dathomir, and since I was playing the Night Sisters, I wanted to lean into like full like play every Dathomirian I can, but that didn't. I was worried about verticality, so I ended up running Django instead of Savage, and then Asajj. Well, she was okay, but she was never great. But that was really just supposed to be like my mid-range team anyway. Like they're not going to be the best, but they're not going to be the worst at anything. So that's what I was running. Todd, do you want to talk about what you were running first, or you want me to just keep going and talk about our
No,
game?
I can go into it. So I ran pretty similar. I was running a Mother Maul list as well. So I ran two separate strike forces. I didn't run like an anchor one or anything like that. So I ran the two separate. So I ran Mother Maul, and then I ran Vader Grievous. And I mean, and so I enjoyed it. I mean, but I've been wanting more and more to go to something different. I'm kind of done with Vader Grievous for the most part, and so I played it. I wasn't exactly thrilled to be playing it, but I ended up playing that list, and it didn't go well for me very much at all. But we'll definitely jump into that. But I think, like I said, I wasn't in the right headspace, and I just was not feeling the list that I was playing. So I'm definitely going to be changing it up and just kind of after this event. But it was definitely. I mean, it's a fun list to play, but it was not my best run for sure. So yeah, I mean, but
Yeah. And I was just gonna say, just to round out, because I don't think I talked about the support. So I played Mother Talzin with the Night Sister Acolytes, and then I had Obi-2 to protect her, and then the Maul squad was Maul, Django, and Fifth Brother,
yep,
because I wanted to try out. Uh, I knew it was going to be a Force hungry list, but I was hoping Maul would help with that, and I wanted to see if that idea of like Django Fifth Brother would work outside of a Vader list, and I think it did well. I'm back on Mandos when I'm playing in the league in that slot, but like I said, I was playing all Mandos in the other two lists, so I had to pick something. So
yeah, makes sense.
fifth fifth brother was it. So let's see, round one. My terrifying Vader Grievous opponent. Remind me again, who is that, Todd?
So that was me. Yep, playing Vader Grievous, and then I think with Vader, I was running the Magna Guard and who was it with Magna Guard? I want to say it was Obi-2, and then with Grievous, it was. Oh, let me just look at my list here really quick because I have it up.
I'm like I've got a picture.
So
I've got a
it
picture
was
here.
Django Magna Guard with Vader. It was, and then it was Savage and Fifth Brother with
Mm.
Grievous, and then my mother list was Obi and Night Sisters and Maul with Bo-Katan and the Super Commandos was what my list was. So yeah, that's what I was playing. So I mean, it was they were good lists. I think the pilot just was not doing that well that day.
Yeah, no, you could tell you were off, and it didn't help matters that we had three tables set up. One was a Geonosis field, which is what we played on first, and then there was like an Ewok Kashyyyk, tree village, and then there was a more one that had more of the classic terrain, like actually out of the core box
Yeah,
with some extensions, and like I think they had the high ground and the core box, and maybe there was two core boxes. Like there was a lot of terrain on that table for being just core box and AMG approved materials.
yeah,
But the Geonosis one, there was this huge laddie, the gunships that the clones fly in,
yeah,
that just took up like a solid like 25% of the board right in the middle, and it was very difficult to position on because there was a lot of like obviously there's the components of the ship, and like your models don't really want to stand on them very well, and then it's tilted over because it's crashed, right? So there was a long the wing that was really where the objective was. And spoilers, yeah, Vader and company were having a hard time getting on that thing, getting off that thing. Like if I remember right, I was using Maul to like defend that point, I think,
Yeah,
for a good chunk of it. And I think it really was the verticality because there was also like this rock, and it looks like a natural rock formation. Like it looks like the Geonosin,
like the
like rock
tubes or something.
pillars.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Yeah, and so like it looked really cool, but like I was able to get my Night Sisters up there because I had the more jumping capability, and like if I remember right, there was just a couple of times where you could have pushed somebody off, but like the dice just didn't go well. I was
Yeah, I
like,
mean, I was not hitting a lot of my pushes for sure in that match. There was a lot of the and like again the positioning. I think the turn zero decision in that particular game for me of not taking Mother Maul with a little bit more vertical movement probably was like a mistake number one in that, where it was like and I got into my head. I'm like, oh, well, Aubrey's expecting me to take these guys. I probably should take them, type of a thing. So I got in my own head with like the turn zero decision, whereas like I probably should have taken Mother Maul, just like I said, because of that verticality, and made it more of a mirror match, so to speak, because I think that would have been the better option to take. But it was overall, I mean, I think it was a fun game. But yeah, the terrain was, and we ended up adjusting the terrain after the game too because of how bad that crash ship impacted the gameplay. It actually detracted from, I think, the gameplay a little bit.
yeah, because in our game we moved it. It was in the middle. It was like smack dab right in kind of impacting either. I mean, it was the main point, but then there was also the fact that like you had to like go around it to get to objectives like it would because you couldn't go through it because I mean it's crashed so the ship is still there and it was just so like I mean we're talking big like this is
Mm.
a big ship, right? And so jumping ahead to round three I ended up playing on that terrain again, but us having moved it over, yeah, that was much better, although I was running again Mother Maul on that table, and so I feel like that did uh like that team did very good with all of the weird awkward vertical stuff, and whereas yeah your list it would have been trickier, although I was playing against Galactic Republic and they seem to be doing just fine, I guess, with the commandos scaling and Obi-Wan's jumps because it was an Obi-Annie list. They did better than I was expecting on that table, but I think my opponent knew Galactic Republic very well. But I'm jumping ahead of myself, jumping ahead of myself. So we finished round one. I won that one. How did your round two go? Because that one I don't actually know about.
So let's see. Round two, I ended up. I'm just going to pull up the rounds here. So I played against the person that was hosting the event, and I actually that was my only win of the day. So I ended up playing. That's where I played Mother Maul, and I played against an Obi, General Kenobi, and Lumi list, which was, it was a pretty interesting list. It was all, and we ended up going to three games. Struggle one was kind of a grind back and forth. I mean, I was able to get out front pretty quick, and Maul was able to do exactly what Maul does. And Mother was just the rock star that she is, where whenever the clones would sit there and do some damage, she was able to push people forward, or push herself forward, do that attack. So she did a lot of work in that particular game. I ended up dishing out 4 wounds throughout the game, so because I was just able to sit there and do it. But it was that particular game, not a high wound count. It was just being able to use Mother to get where I needed to go, a lot of the jumps into jumping into positions that I needed to with the commandos and with the Night Sisters. I was able to really just play to the scenario more than I was to just an attrition type thing. So that was there. I was moving the ways that I needed to, just getting onto the points that I needed to, controlling points in a very effective way in that game. I felt that was like, for me, that was like, okay, it kind of put me in a better headspace, and I was like, I felt like I played a clean game, and I think that's after that game, is like I kind of almost transitioned myself to, let's just start playing clean miniature gaming. Let's just try and eliminate the common mistakes, and just have fun playing, and just try and play as cleanly, without mistake free as possible. And I think that was the biggest thing with that particular game. My opponent was, like I said, I think he played Republic, and he normally doesn't play that the reason he was on Republic was because the person who won the event did not have his models, and he was playing all of the person who was running events model. So he was playing all of his separatist list, and that's why the other one was on he was on the Republic. So it felt a little bad for him because it wasn't what he was like primarily plays and what he's used to playing. And he also happens to be an employee of the store as well. So he he didn't do as well as I think he would wanted to, simply because he was just playing an off list for himself.
Hey, I can't say much. He was my round three opponent, and he must have wet or sharpened his teeth, whet his appetite. I don't know. I don't know what metaphor I'm thinking of here, because he seemed to be doing a fantastic job utilizing his hunkers to do the extra movement because he was playing Obi Annie. Although maybe he was used to playing Obi Annie, and he was what was he?
He was
What
on Lumi.
Republic list was?
He was on Obi Lumi
Yeah,
with me.
so maybe he was playing one that he doesn't know as well because he was doing a pretty good cleanup work with Obiani. And to clarify, you were on the city map. I'm just calling it
That was the
City
big city.
Forest
Yeah, that was the big
Geonosis.
city map where there was a
Yeah.
lot, and I think for that one, that was definitely did not want to play Vader on that list just because of all of the vertical movement. There was a lot on that map for sure. There was a lot of terrain and there a lot of vertical movement there, and that played really well into my particular list because of all of the jumps I had between the Night Sisters and between the Night Sisters, and then with the super commandos. And I mean, Maul having his extra movement also helps to get you where you wanted to go. So there was a lot going on with that one. The Obi two, his downfall is if you don't position him well when he's on those maps that have a lot of terrain. So he was not as effective in this particular game simply because it's like he just was not able to get into like some of those positions that I needed him to based off of how he like the length of his movement and how the terrain was set up and everything. So I mean he still was able to do I think he did one mind trick in that game, so he still was able to do some of what he does, but he was not a didn't do much offensive output at all. He was more just there to sit there and do kind of his mind trick thing, which is more than enough for him to do. Though that's definitely what you really want to use him for. So that one went well, and then but you ended up playing in your second match against Josh in round two.
Yeah, this is so it feels like we switched roles here because I got pretty tilted by how my game went. So first off, a lesson. Despite the huge verticality of the tree village, and I don't know if this is like the Ewok village from Imperial Terrain. I couldn't really tell looking at it. It might just be something that somebody's gotten from Legion or somewhere else. So I don't know. But I automatically picked my Mandos because I was looking at it and it looked like heavy verticality and like I had Ahsoka and Asajj and I'm like, okay, this is that I'm gonna pick this squad for this terrain. Except the way the table was set up, most of the objectives for some reason were not actually on the higher terrain. So I start the game and I get my Mandos like kind of up on like the middle point, which was up high, and the back, uh, my right back point.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I feel like I'm doing pretty good, but my opponent was playing Separatist, playing Dooku, and I think it had to be Dooku Grievous or
It was
maybe what I'm
Dooku
trying to
Maul. I
remember.
have it up right now. He
Oh,
was playing Dooku
oh,
Maul.
Dooku Maul, that's right. And so what I thought I was doing good positioning, it turned out my opponent could just kind of ignore it and just go claim the positions that weren't on vertical points. And so, because he had a little bit more raw power and it ended up the verticality didn't matter as much, I was starting to slowly get behind in that game, which is okay. That happens. I don't know if Mother Maul would have been correct in that situation because like had I reversed and had been forced to play Mandos the last round, I was back on the Geonosis map where yeah, the verticality like the jumps matter, but not as much I thought as the Ewok village. So I was already kind of a little tilted by the fact that like I wouldn't have set up the terrain that way. Like I would have moved the trees a little bit so that more of the objectives were up high. I don't What's the point of having a giant Ewok village if you're then gonna fight underneath the trees? But whatever, and you deal with it. What actually tilted me was there was a moment, and I don't know if I would have won the struggle because of this, to be clear, but there was a moment where I just needed to deal 2 damage to Dooku to wound him and, flip a point and like it was the key moment, like do or die. All I had to do was 2 damage. Now, second lesson of the day, and this is just a lesson in general that I'm coming to terms with, is knowing when to flip your primaries into one stance versus the other. I should have flipped Ahsoka into her higher damage dealing side, but I didn't think I needed it because it was 2 damage. And then I end up rolling only one success out of all of my dice. So because I was on her what is it, her reverse grip side, whatever her less damage dealing side is, it was 1 damage and a condition. So I
Okay.
don't so I don't wound Dooku. I don't flip the point. I essentially wasted an entire activation, and then the whole game went south after that.
Got it.
Like
Yeah,
that
because
was
so
like
so you were
it took another. Oh, good. Yeah.
no, I was saying so you were on the form 5 side, which did the 1 damage in the push. Where if you were on her Jarkai, it would have been doing the 2 damage that you needed.
Right.
Oh,
Right. Like, and that's I should have thought about like worst case scenario, but I mean, I was rolling a ton of dice. I know it's like I mean, Dooku is just a beast. I mean, I think one of it was he got the expertise that turns like a crit to a it doesn't he turn like a crit to a failure or whatever his expertise. Like my opponent's rolls were just really good. Mine were just average. But if I had just thought about, well, I need to do 2 damage. I need to guarantee 2 damage. How do you guarantee 2 damage? Well, make it so your first success is 2 damage. But I didn't think of that, and basically, I think it took another half hour for me to lose. Like that's the thing I'm learning about, Todd. So in tabletop games, your game can go up to 2 hours, right? At a tournament,
yep.
you might have already lost within the first hour, but you don't find out for another hour.
Yeah, yeah, no, that can happen. You can, but I mean, in the other part, like I said, sometimes we put ourselves on tilt for reasons X, Y, Z, and then we are not in a clear state of mind to where, yeah, we put ourselves in a bad position that first hour, but there probably was an out to sit there and turn the game at some point in time, but we put ourselves on tilt, don't actually think through our lines the way that we should be thinking through our lines, and take ourselves out of the game too. So yeah, there's a couple of different things there, and I'm definitely guilty of that, where it's like, oh, I made a stupid move, and I dwell on that, and then all of a sudden it's like I probably make another 3 or 4 mistakes along that lines, where it's just like, okay, regroup yourself, don't focus on it. That part's done. How can you sit there and improve going forward?
Yeah, yeah. And I should have just thought about the fact that I was specifically targeting Dooku.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking of an average roll. I should be able to get like on average you get like 2 to 3 successes is what I would think. Like that's like even with a great roll, great defense, you usually end up with a crit or two, or your expertise chart gives you an extra hit or something. And so like I was just thinking, well, no matter what, I'm gonna get 2 or 3. Well, that's not necessarily true, as I learned.
Yeah, yeah,
So that kind of put me on tilt, and that lasted through like part of round three, admittedly. So I mean, some of my round three interactions were probably within that lens, and I should have just taken a deep breath, calmed down. But as I recall, I think that's my second round went pretty long because if I
yes,
remember right, everybody else was done. Like it was a long, slow attrition battle that I ultimately lost, which is also tilting because you just feel the whole time you feel like, all right, just one other thing and I'll get back in, one other thing I'll get back in, and then it just never happens.
exactly, exactly. You know, and that's that. I
Yeah.
mean, that's one of the nice things. I mean, about most big game tournaments, like if you go to like where you have that time in between rounds to where it's like, okay, take my 5-10 minutes, go outside, get some fresh air, take a deep breath, forget about the game, like put on some music on your headphones or something. And then like in this situation, like you finish your game, is like, all right, right into round three, you didn't have time to sit there and shake it off. We just went right into the next round. So that was a situation there. I mean, granted, you coming from the Magic background of playing Control and going to time every time you played it in a tournament, you should be used to just going from one game right into the next, because you were like, I would be done playing my burn decks and stuff that I played. I'd be done like 30-40 minutes before you, and like all of a sudden it's like, oh, Aubrey's still over there, but the time's done. Yeah, he's on turns again. So
Okay, but Todd, those rounds are 50 minutes long. We're talking 2 hours into maybe another 2 hours. I mean, we didn't go to time on the last round, but like this is a whole different beast. Like I'm having to remind myself to sit down. Apparently, I'm getting old and crunchy in places, and like I think I can stand for 6 hours. Yeah, okay, maybe not so much. Maybe not so much.
right.
But that's round two. You want to so you won, I lost. So we're both at 1-1 at
We're
this
both
point.
1-1.
Uh,
Yep. And
how about round three?
so
How'd round three
so
go?
round three, I ended up going up against probably the person who like cleans my clock most consistently in the state of Arizona. That's Chris Sampson, who is he is
Okay,
he's
okay.
an amazing player. I mean, he is very very good. He is. I think he, like, when it comes to it, like, he knows your cards probably better than you know your cards in most cases. He is very intelligent when it comes to playing. So, but and again, this goes to reiterating almost what you said about the Ewok map. So him and I were playing on the Ewok map, so I got a chance to play on all three. And one thing we didn't mention was the deployment for this. So like constantly in deployment, everybody wants to sit there and deploy so that you're centered between the back 3 points. They set up the terrain intentionally in the deployment zone so you were not able to deploy in that manner. So you had to pick and choose where you deployed and which points you were going to be able to sit on. So it was very interesting. So there was that piece of it for one turn zero thing. And I made the same exact mistake that you made on that Ewok map, where basically I was looking at, oh look, high terrain. I don't want to use Vader Grievous because I don't have that vertical movement. So I played Maul and Mother, where I should have been playing Vader Grievous, because I played into Ahsoka and Mace, which is so another Separatist list. And like you said, like
Wait,
or not a Separatist,
Ahsoka.
another Republic list, I should say.
Oh, okay, all right.
So sorry, misspoke there. So, but it was looking at the map, like you said, you come up, you walk up to this table, and you're like, oh my gosh, look at all these large trees. I got to play something that can get up, and it's one of those where you just have to take a step back and actually look at where where everything's at, and go, oh look, everything's on the ground. I should not be playing. So like I can sit there and just play on the ground, and I can be low to the ground. And the Vader Grievous list would have played very well into that map. It's just that I let my initial instinct take over and not actually take a step back and actually think through where everything was and everything like that. So that was, again, but this was round three. We're 4 or 5 hours into the day at this point in time. I think we were all a little tired. The Z monster was starting to catch up on us a little bit. So we were I think a little done with that. And I think there was some turn zero mistakes definitely that I know that I made right there. So he clicked very quickly ended up taking the first two matches against me. And there was, like I said, I don't. Him and I talked through it afterwards, and I don't think there was a lot of mistakes that I made. I think one in that particular game, there was a point in which I should have activated Maul with my Shatterpoint card, and I didn't, and ended up really that would have been a swing turn for me that I didn't actually take. But I think overall, my moves that I made and the placements that I made and the attacks that I had made, I mean, him and I, like I said, we talked through it pretty in depth after the game, because he kicked my butt pretty fast. He won in two struggles, so we had a lot of time to talk through it. And I mean, like I said, I don't think I made a lot of mistakes in that game, other than I think I just picked the wrong strike force for that particular match where I was taking I should have been going with more attrition. And again, it's one of those where I think I looked at the map, I said this is what I'm going to play, and I really didn't give much thought also into who he was playing throughout the day. And I think that's a lesson that I know from playing MCP is like you sit down at the table, you look at the different missions that are available, you look at what your opponent's playing, you pick your points, and then you make the decision of okay, this is what my opponent is probably going to be playing here. What am I going to be playing that's best into what they're going to be playing? And I just skipped all of that. And I think that's something that like to real like go back and rethink. It's like okay, we need to go back and we need to sit there and do a lot of that turn zero type of stuff that I just wasn't doing. Like especially in like a tournament setting like this where it's there's more to the thought process of what map are you on, what is your opponent probably going to be playing on this map because what's best for them to be playing on the map, and based off of that, what is best for you to be playing. So I think there was a lot of good lessons learned based off of a lot of mistakes that I made in this tournament.
Hey, I think we've got to give ourselves grace. This was our first Premier Showdown,
Mhm.
first time picking four squads. I know I was agonizing over the decision because I was trying not to create too force hungry of a list, and I was worried because I had Django and Obi-2 and Mother T and Obi-Wan all in one list, and then I had Mandos, and like I was trying to figure out should I be splitting them up? How should I approach this? So I think we got to give ourselves a little grace. This is our first time even having the option to be like, okay, what are the best squads to take in this moment? We've never
Yeah,
had that before, right? So I mean, that's okay. And then, come on, why weren't more of the objectives on the trees? Like
yeah,
there was one tree that was by itself, and okay, I get why they did this. They ran out of platforms,
yes,
so then they put like the objective just at the base of the tree, and I'm like, I almost wouldn't have minded it being on the tree just to be like, all right, well, we got to capture wire, we got to maul pull, we gotta get him out of there. Like that almost would have been more fun than me just going, all right, I'm gonna walk up to the tree. Hi, tree.
yeah.
Hello, tree. Now we're just hanging out at your base. It's all right. I don't know.
It was
Let's see.
interesting. That one need that map. I think like next time we play there, and I think they're gonna be running more events at that store. So I think it's one of those where like we have to take a better look at the terrain setup like at that store overall. But I mean, I think that was just we were in a rush to set up for for the event, and I think that kind of like was a big part of what happened. So, but your turn, so your round three opponent, you ended up playing against the host as well, and you were back on the Geonosis map.
So again, I don't know if I picked the wrong list or not because I mean, obviously, I played on this map twice. I picked Mother Maul. I had one with Mother Maul. Like I said, he played very well. So I mean, he did an excellent job. So shout out, like every time I would push stuff off. He would have the hunker tokens for the brother in arms steadfast. He would remove them at key times. So I don't want what I'm about to say to make it sound like my opponent got lucky. But dear God, he activated Anakin Skywalker 5 times over the course of our struggles. 5 times. Oh man. And admittedly, I mean, our game went long, so I mean that means we shuffled the deck 3 times, so of course it's possible. But Anakin rocked my world so hard, I feel like I need to apologize to Padme. Oh, Anakin did so much work that game, and again, he also played very well, so he was able to push that advantage through. But I just felt behind so much because every time I poked my head out, Anakin was wounding somebody. Like there was an activation where he didn't even have to use Anakin's double tap. He just wounded me outright with the first attack and went, "Oh, well, I guess I don't have to activate Anakin's ability. Let's just move on." And I'm like, "Okay, this is fine. It's all fine." Like I was at least expecting to like tax his force. I was like, all
Yeah.
right, like this attack's probably not gonna go well, but at least he can use some force. Nope, nope, no force. Nope. Just murder, murder, death, death. So uh I mean, and like Obi-Wan did his hello there thing, which made me happy. Like I feel bad to complain about this. Galactic Republic looked amazing in this game. Like they looked like because he kept his clones, just back behind the midlines. So they were doing the shooting and the coordinated fire, and like I'd try to get my people across the board to him, but every time somebody poked their head up to try and fight, Anakin was just like, and beat down.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, that's so basically he did exactly what, I think the best strategy for clones is, you keep your clones back on the gun line and let your Jedi go forward and swing their lightsabers at everybody. And when you have Anakin being able to sit there and do that 5 times, I think that's pretty much going to end up pretty positive in your favor, in that person's favor. So yeah, I can see how. I mean, that's just a rough day at the office for you.
It made me happy because spoilers at the end. I went 1-2, and wait, was that your score too? Did
Yeah,
we
we
both
both
end
went
up?
1-2, but I think you ended up
Oh,
you ended up a little bit above me on tiebreakers simply because of I think it was, yeah, victory points, because I got 0-2 a couple of times. So your victory
yeah.
points, I think, were the difference there for the tiebreakers. So no, you did you kicked some pretty good butt there.
Yeah. But that did give me hope because seeing Galactic Republic playing out like that, the one good thing that came out of this, the RNG helped me out. I won that Padawan Ahsoka, so I've got snips, so I might have to do some, yeah, just for fun. I don't know if I'm gonna bring this to a league, but I kind of want to do the Anakin Obi-Wan game with a Rex and
And
Padawan
snips.
snips and some clones and have some fun with it. Just for a fun game. We'll see. I gotta set up some time because I still got 2 more league games to get through because I keep having to. They have to reschedule. I have to reschedule. This being an adult thing, Todd. Oh, come
Takes
on
away from all
now.
of
What
our
is
fun.
that?
We're supposed to be able to play with our fun plastic soldiers anytime we want, and we just aren't able to sometimes. It's pretty unfortunate. But yeah, no, I mean, that
Yeah.
was nice. You won the fellowship for the for the snips, and I actually, like, even though I didn't, I ended up finishing fifth out of six, didn't do all that got great. I ended up winning best painted, so that was, I felt that was a big boost there, and actually, so I was pretty happy with that. Now, and with the effort. I mean, that made me feel like a winner right there. So that was a pretty good one, pretty good finish to the day for me at least.
Hey, I've seen your paint jobs. They are pretty, Todd. You can give a little humble brag here, right?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I mean, a I'm a little bit better than average, I would say. I think in most cases. I mean, so I for me, painting is a very enjoyable thing. I enjoy the idea and just the whole task of, okay, building the model, priming it, and painting it. And I use brush on primer just because I really like the whole idea of it, and being as precise as possible with for my painting. And another shout out to Zion's Finest. They did a really great hobby side of the thing podcast as well, of gaming. So I enjoyed that, and it was interesting to, like, just hear, some people just don't like doing that part of the hobby at all, and it's, they just want to build the things and play with them and move on. And I enjoy the painting side of it. So I think it's that's one of the nice parts of this entire hobby, is that there's always something for everyone. You don't have to sit there and be great at everything. You can just enjoy playing or building or painting, and that's it.
Yeah, and I have to say I was surprised. So I decided I wanted to do most of my painting myself. I think the fiance is gonna take Padawan snips though because she seems to be really excited about painting specifically Luminara and Ahsoka. I didn't know these characters were gonna resonate with her, but all right, that's fine. I mean,
Strong,
she likes
independent
Star Wars
women.
too. I know, very surprising. But but for the most part, I've been painting my stuff, and I'm learning, and I've got a long way to go. But I did not expect, like, I thought it was gonna feel more like a chore, like, oh man, I got to do this painting, or else our friend Rich is gonna make fun of me later. But uh, but no, it turns out it's kind of fun. Learning the colors, learning all the techniques, messing up some of the techniques. It's
That's
all
how you
right.
learn, though. That's a big part of the learning, is just kind of like going through the process, and like, for me at least, like, just to kind of go into the painting a little bit, is like I'll sit there and watch a YouTube video from a different, one of the other creators, and look at one of their techniques, a more advanced technique that I want to focus on. And it's like, okay, today they're gonna I'm gonna watch 2 or 3 videos on wet blending, and I'm gonna sit there and try and work on how to do wet blending a little bit better, or I'm gonna try and work on shading and learn how to shade a little bit better. So there's so much room for growth in the hobby itself, that I think that's like what I like about it, is like, okay, I want to sit there and learn how to do this technique. So let me go ahead and work on that for this particular model and see how it turns out. And sometimes it turns out okay, sometimes it doesn't. But that's the fun of it, I think.
Oh yeah, and I'm enjoying that. So I used 3D printers before for work, but then it's been years now since I've interacted with like the 3D printing world, and now this has gotten me back into it, which one helps me be a little more updated for my work because we're building a makerspace at the Choya Library over at Metro Center is at where I'm stationed, and like I know I'm going to be involved in that at least a little bit. I'm not in charge of it, someone else is, but you know how that is.
Yes.
It's going to take the whole team. And I'm just having fun seeing what other people have made. Looking up different models, different files for buildings. Like there's so many different directions you can take this. Like I fully expect the stepson. If I can keep him interested in long enough, I think he might be making some buildings or making some dice, things that we can use and 3D print out because he actually knows how to do the modeling. Unlike me, I just take other people's ideas and print them out.
I mean, that's pretty much. I'm just gonna say, okay, look, where's the STLs that I need to use? Got it. Okay, I'm gonna run with those. Yeah, that's gonna be me for the most part, I think. But yeah, I mean, so I think that covered just about everything we wanted to for this episode. I mean, that was our event. I mean, I'm sure we can jump into some of our league games maybe next time, and some of the stuff that we've gone over with some of that. I think I'm down to, I think, only one game left in the league, I think. But our league ends in November 11th. I think it's like on Veterans Day is when our league itself actually ends.
Yeah, because that's when the tournament is, right?
Yes,
Is yeah, yeah.
I believe so. Yeah, and I just have to play Alan, and I'm sure Alan is. I mean, he is thoroughly kicks my rear end every time I play him MCP. He is an amazing player. So he's the only game I have left, and I'll try and give him a run for my money. But Alan is a very good player. He's very smart when it comes to playing these games. So I know he'll give me a run for my money. So I'm looking forward to that. My last game against him.
Nice, nice. All right.
All right. Well, yeah, I think that
Sounds like we've got it.
yeah, we got everything. We covered everything I think we wanted to. So let's go ahead and close up shop here. I do again want to thank everyone for listening. If you want to support us, best way to do so is leave us a review and rate the podcast on whatever platform you are listening to the podcast on. If you're watching us on YouTube, as always, give us a like, subscribe, ring that bell. Next time we post some more content, you'll sit there and be able to watch us again. But as always, thanks again, and may the force be with you.
May the force be with you.